Hello. Thanks for coming. Welcome to the VMDO Links event where we'll be discussing the Music Producer and Engineers Guild inaugural survey report. My name is Anna Laverty. I'm English. I'm the founding director of the Guild, and I'd like to introduce some other people who are here tonight, also from the Guild, board members, etc. So first up, we have Catherine Harrity, who's at the back. Give us a wave, Kath. So Kath manages and has been an A&R for some of Australia's most successful artists. In 2021, she stepped into the role of CEO at the Australian Music Centre. Previously, she's actively advocated for managers and their artists as the executive director of the Association of Artist Managers, as well as being a former board member and chairperson. She is a past board member of Music Victoria, Support Act and the Community Broadcasting Foundation, as well as an APRA AMCOS ambassador and AMP award patron. So when I was setting up the guild, and I really had no idea what I was doing or what it meant to set up a guild. Kath was the first person who I called because I knew she had a lot of experience in being on boards, being part of organisations, and she's been very, I was going to say very useful, but she's been very generous with her time and knowledge to me in helping to set up this guild. So, and go say hello to her tonight. Also present is Tom Larkin over here. Give us a wave, Tom. So Tom, I first met Tom when I moved back from England, and I was working as an assistant engineer at Sing Sing, and Tom came in to do a session, I think it was King Cannons maybe, and I assisted Tom on that session, and he also now is the programmer for Big Sound and has a lot of experience, and I knew would also be very, very helpful in establishing the guild. So it was us three who originally set it up, but we're all from Victoria. Woo! So, I thought we should probably open that up to other parts of the country as well. So there are board members from other parts of the country, such as Eric Dabowski from Sydney, and Xylo Aria lives in Queensland now. And oh, that's okay. You don't have to see this. This is just me reading off the website. And then... the other person on the board is Millie Petriella, who's also based in Sydney. She worked at APRA AMCOS for I think about 30 years, but she's now volunteering on our board as well. So she's kind of an expert in member-based organisations. So she's very helpful to us in that way. And then the last person who's also here tonight is Annika Schmazel, who is aka Alice Ivy, producer extraordinaire. It's her release day today, so thank you for being here. So that's mostly, I just wanted to introduce those people so that you know that we are actually people who are working in the industry, and you can come and say hello to us. That's pretty much the introductions. So I'll just move on to the reason why we're here tonight is to talk about this survey report that we have done. So when we were having our board meetings, we were sort of discussing like what should we do, what could we do, and there are so many things that we could do. But we really wanted to know what the members wanted us to do, and so we thought the best way to do that was to conduct a survey of our members, and we did it when we had about 110, I think 109 people responded to the survey, and these are the results of that survey. So we got Magoo, who's an amazing producer engineer, also from Australia. Many of you probably know him. He is now an academic also, so he helped us write the questions so that we were asking the right things of our members. And he also helped us to sort of, when we got the results in, to distill that into key findings so that we could like read what those things meant. So that's where we're at. So I'll just read this introduction for this for the outcomes of the survey, and we'll go from there. So the recording sector is a critical driving engine of the Australian music industry. In many aspects, the roles and work conditions of music producers have changed dramatically since Edison first inscribed "Mary Had a Little Lamb" on a wax cylinder in 1887. Music producers and engineers work closely with musicians to help them achieve their artistic goals in the recording studio. Alternatively, engineering and production may be a critical skill as part of a musician's practice. Engineers and producers might work well in well-established, purpose-built recording facilities worth millions of dollars and/or on a laptop with a pair of headphones while their housemates sleep. The members of MPEG make up only part of the recording sector in Australia. Regardless, it is the music producers and engineers of Australia that are responsible for shaping the sound of recordings, ensuring that the final product meets technical standards, ready for distribution, and documenting the cultural artefacts of the Australian and, in many cases, global music industry. The Music Producer and Engineers Guild of Australia, MPEG, has been established to represent the commercial interests and community development of music producers and sound engineers throughout Australia via advocacy and engagement. Music producers are seen as a small part of the Australian music ecosystem and often forgotten in government legislation, tax law, funding opportunities, and general institutional support. MPEG's goal is to support our members in their careers, campaign for the rights of music producers, engineers, and participants of the recording sector, and promote diversity and inclusion within the Australian recording industry. MPEG launched a survey between March and April of 2023 to give us a better understanding of who we are, how we work, what our needs are, and the economic landscape of the recording industry in Australia. The results of this report represent the composition of the MPEG members in its inaugural stages. A total of 106 members completed the survey. The survey results provide insights into the demographics, work and financial conditions, physical and mental health, and aspirations of the recording sector in Australia. So that's our intro. The research was commissioned by the MPEG board with assistance from Dr. Lachlan Gould Magoo from the University of the Sunshine Coast. So, look out while I launch my keynote. There you go. These are those names down the bottom is just the members of the board. So that's who, and Magoo, obviously. So that's who helped put it together. Okay, so I've just kind of gone through a bit of this already, but the who we are, who am I? The Music Producer and Engineers Guild was established to represent the commercial interests and community development of the music producers and sound engineers throughout Australia via advocacy and engagement. It was set up 1 year ago, so I remember last year we launched the day before Big Sound. And then I went to Big Sound and everyone was talking about it, which was really cool. Actually, most of the conversation was everyone who was a producer or an engineer was like, finally, we have a guild. This is so great. And everyone who wasn't a producer or an engineer said, well, don't we already have one of those? Which I thought was really funny. It just goes to show how much we need one. So this is the first and only peak body for music producers and engineers in Australia. So I am a Victorian-based music producer and sound engineer with about 20 years of experience working in Australia and London and more recently Glasgow. We worked with Lachlan Gould Magoo to conduct an inaugural survey of MPEG members, and we had 106 respondents. So that's a bit of a repeat of what I just said, but there you go. Okay, so some of the key findings. Limited diversity. I don't think that this will come as a surprise to anybody that the majority of producers working in Australia, but let's face it, the world, are well, as Magoo put it, I think he said something like, most of us are middle-aged white men. So that is true. 85.8% of respondents are male. 11.3% are female, and two respondents chose non-binary. No one specifically identified as Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander, with 2.8% preferring not to say or they don't know. So I think, like as steep as that statistic is, I don't think it's a surprise to anybody really. And I think industry-wide, we're trying to promote women and non-binary people in spaces in music. So all I can say is, honestly, I was quite surprised that there was 11.3% female, because I've worked in this industry for about 20 years and I've seen about 2 other women in the studio. So that was kind of surprising that there are so many, but it does go to show that maybe they aren't working in the more traditional models and working sort of on their own in, smaller studios. So I think the statistic that's most alarming for me is that no one specifically identified as Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander. I know that there are some First Nations producers out there. I know of no engineers who are First Nations, really. So that's definitely something that we as a community need to be aware of, and we will be coming up with some suggestions for how to change that statistic for next time we do this survey. I would just say at this point, it's probably worth me mentioning that some demographic stuff around the survey quickly. So in which state and territory are you based? 43.4% of people are Victorian. 22.6 are New South Wales, 14.2 are from Queensland, 9.4 are from South Australia, and then Tas, WA, NT and ACT are all pretty small pieces of that pie. 80% live in a city, 18.9% live regionally. I think I get to this statistic in a moment, so I'll just wait for that one. So working conditions, 31% of respondents have over 20 years experience in the recording industry. I think that's pretty amazing, the fact that people have been doing this under these conditions for 20 years and they're still doing it. I thought that was really awesome. I think I hit 20 years like a couple of years ago, so I'm definitely in that band. Almost 1/3, so 31.1% of respondents are underemployed, and 13.3% work more than 60 hours a week. It's really funny because when all the people in the wider industry who have read this report and sent me emails or messages saying, wow, I cannot believe, these things. And everyone I've spoken to who does this is just not surprised, because this is our lives. This is how we work. And so this statistic to me kind of shows so many people are doing loads and loads of hours, but they're not getting remunerated enough for the hours that they're doing. So and that's kind of how Magoo read the statistic as well, based on other questions that we asked. So there was 26.4% work 40 to 50 hours a week, and 29.2 work 30 to 40 hours a week. So very interesting. Which one are we up to? Financial instability. Yeah, so producers with music production or engineering work as their primary source of income is 47.2. So almost half of us have production or engineering as your primary source of income. And of that, 43.7% earn under 30 grand a year. So that's pretty scary. 17.5% earn between $30,000 and $50,000 a year. Financial instability is a frequent concern from respondents to this survey. 47.2% of respondents cite their music production or engineering work as their primary source of income, with another 23.5% of respondents making up their income with audio-related work, 70.7% in total. So often people are producers and engineers, but they also do say AV work on the side, or they do podcast work on the side, or some other sort of audio related work, live stuff on the side. I know quite a lot of people who tour as well, so they'll work with an artist on their record and then they'll go on tour with them. Yes, I read those. 50% of MPEG members sometimes or often work for free, which is really scary. I kind of made a rule for myself a few years ago that I would never work for free, and that was after I was really burnt by working for a friend for free, and it sort of ended the friendship because you just can't work under those conditions for free because you can't afford to put petrol in your car to get to the studio after a while. So I think you really just have to make personal boundaries around that. But that is it's often to win a gig, so you'll do something for free to win a gig, and that's kind of undercutting each other. So I feel like maybe that's not the best way forward. This was like the positive that shone through for me in the report was, even though it's quite hard to read and all the rest of it, we are so talented. We all have so many strings to our bow, so many things that we do to call ourselves a producer. For example, so this is 50% of respondents reporting at least 6 different services in their fee, with tasks such as engineering, mixing, mix revisions, production, pre-production, stems for various purposes, and mastering. I don't do mastering, but I do all the rest of it. And psychologist is not on there, but it's kind of up there. So I think we are all very multi-talented, so, pat on the back for that. We just need to ensure that we have boundaries around pay and hours and working conditions. So where is music recorded in Australia? 72.4% of respondents have their own studio facilities on their own property, whether rented or owned, used for all or part of completing a recording. Now that, if you had done that statistic 10 years ago, it would have been completely different. And that is obviously based on technology changing. So we're now able to, I have edited in bed, we're just so lucky that we're able to do that now. It cuts down on studio fee costs and all the rest of it. But that creates other problems for people who own studios, so the ecosystem is really changing, and we just need to be on top of that and supporting in the right areas. Recording studios no longer operate from exclusively commercial purpose-built studios in Australia, for sure. We are way, way past that being the case. I can't wait for the Q&A, but that's I thought that was a really huge statistic, and just something that we would not have known if we didn't do this survey. So mental health, this is a really big one. I don't really like that little graphic because it's not accurate, but music producers, 51% of respondents rate their mental health as average to poor, which is like half of us are not feeling great mental health wise. So it's definitely an issue for MPEG respondents. And we are, one of our board members, Tom, is also on the board of Support Act. Sorry to put you on the spot there, Tom. But we have close ties with Support Act, which is the music industry mental health kind of support service. Please, if that's an issue for you, reach out to Support Act or to us, and we can point you in the direction of getting some support. A lot of that, I will just say, it's not on that graphic, but a lot of that is down to stress from financial instability and inconsistent pay, unpredictable hours, and all the rest. All the things that we know that we deal with affect mental health create mental health issues. So they're the main key findings that I have here on this report, but I have so many statistics, so we will do a Q&A, but there's a full report. It's like 26 pages long. I please ask you to download it and read it. It's on our website, which is mpeg.org.au, and there's a resources page, so you can just read it on the website, or you can download it and print it off and read it that way, or you can scan that little code, but I don't don't know if that's going to work here. But that's kind of my report, and there's so many things to take away from this that I didn't even really know where to start. I just pulled out some of the key findings that Magoo identified for us. So we as an organisation, as a group of people within the music industry, we believe knowledge is power. So now, even though some of this report is real hard reading, and at times, at least we know now, and we have the data to back up what a lot of us were already feeling. The results of this survey will inform the forthcoming strategic plan for the Guild. So it will allow us as a subgroup within the music community to take charge of our future and make things better for ourselves and for each other and for those that will come after us. Thanks a lot. We'll do a Q&A. I will just say, don't forget to sign up enter this competition, because you can win a Neumann TLM 103, which is an amazing microphone. It's like this limited edition version that you can't buy. I'm very excited for whoever's, and I will be drawing it this evening, so stick around for that. It's going to close at 6:30, but does anybody have any questions? Please have questions. Hello.
Well, I'd be really interested to hear your perspective on why there's so few women in the industry. I mean, I've got my own, view on it to some extent.
I'd be interested to hear your view on it.
But I'd be really interested, from someone who has worked in the industry so successfully, why is it? Because I don't personally think there's any. I don't think the people in this room are barriers to it. I don't think, it's a men's club like it's sometimes described it. I don't think women are barred from joining. But you may say something different, but I'd be really interested to know why you think the numbers are so low.
Look, it's not a one sentence answer. It's a huge cultural issue. No, we're not barred from joining, but it's not as easy for us for a lot of reasons. I I feel very on the spot right now. I don't know. I might have to email you a response. I don't know. It's not a one sentence answer, basically. And also, I don't have all the answers. But I will say it has been a boys' club for a long time, actually. And we are now only just kicking down doors. And it's been a long slog. And it's funny because a lot of the people that say, I just don't see it, I don't see where the barriers are, it's because you're not the problem. But there are people who are the problem, and they do exist. And I think that's probably what I will say about that for now. Yeah. Sorry, you don't have to clap, it's fine. It wasn't a very good response. Yeah, hello there.
I might just add to the conversation about that, in the sense that I think it's less about an individual, I'm not the problem, or I can't see the problem, but more so that just over time and history, that when there's a lack of representation, then that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. Because then there's the old adage, you can't be what you can't see. So if you don't see it happening in front of you over time, then it makes it more difficult for women to process the idea that that's something they can do.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, yeah.
And I think on top of that, technology has traditionally been, particularly over the 20th century, something that men have done and women have been actively discouraged to do. So,
like I say, it is a cultural issue.
Yeah, it's not broader. It's bigger than music. It's
bigger than music, but I mean, literally, the statistic from about 6 or 7 years ago was 2% of music producers were women. Now, if that's not a cultural problem, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And now we're up to 11.3% in Australia, which is, I'm like, wow, that's great.
Shows progress.
11%? Really? That's not good enough. But I was pretty impressed by that. But and I do think, I have to say, I do think that number is so high because our board is made up of more than 50% women, which means that it's a safe space for women to join. If you saw a board that was all men, it would not feel as welcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, Nick. Oh, hang on. You need a mic, mate.
Sorry. Do we know how it compares to other countries? Like, is Australia
Well,
anomaly or not?
Funny you should say that, because I just spent 6 months in the UK and I had a lot of meetings with the UK MPG, and they have never done a survey of their members, and I gave them our survey and they were like, oh my God, we have to do a survey immediately. So they're about to do their own survey, and also the New Zealand MPG were inspired by our survey and they're doing one at the moment also. So we will have those statistics soon. And the Grammy, so the producer and engineers wing of the Grammy in America, they haven't done a survey like that. Those statistics, that 2% survey was made up from like, it was very specific to like top 50 on the charts for this particular year, and it was like very genre specific. So yeah, it was pop basically, which is notorious for not having a lot of women working in it. So there are genres where it's much more women are much more represented. Hip hop and rap and stuff, for example, is like not good. Metal's not good. But then, you know, there are genres where it's better. Yeah. Yeah. So diversity across the board is kind of something that the guild will work on, but it's not the only thing.
Hello, Anna.
Hello, mate.
I have a question about your time in the UK.
Oh yeah.
Have you found many differences between, you know, work structures or like the way they sort of treat producers, as in like payment structures or anything in your experience in the UK compared to here? For example, in my experience, I've heard that like doing a writing session and such for free over there is less of a thing, while here is maybe more so of a thing with producers. Is there anything else you've picked up on?
Specifically around that, I'm not sure. I just did a writing camp in the UK and we weren't paid, but it was run by the UK MPG, and they applied for funding to pay everyone and they didn't get that funding, so they sort of asked people if it would be a barrier for them to still do it. But they are doing another one soon, which is specifically for parents, and they're going to have like childcare, which is paid for, and they're going to pay the writers. So there is that. There's other writers camps which is like run by the labels, and so people will be paid for their time for that. So I guess it's just like situation specific, but I will say that producers and engineers seem to be much more respected in the UK, and like if you don't put someone's credits properly on a record, you will find out about it, which is what I think we need to do here, is really make sure that we're being, I call it respected, but it's like making sure that people write the credits properly when they say they're going to. We need to make sure that we're paid properly for our hours and all the extra time that we do editing in bed, etc. You know, like we need to make sure that we're paid for all of those things that we do, and we don't do that work for free because we don't want to not get the job because someone else will do it cheaper.
Further to that, have you found that UK rates are different for a producer's fee compared to here?
I think it depends. You know, it's similar to here really, in that it depends on what your status is. So like if you're in the top 5%, you're making a heck of a lot more there because it's a bigger market, right? So they're selling more records, they're making more money. But like what most of us are, which is like your day-to-day producers working every day on local bands or local music or whatever it may be, I think it's pretty comparable actually. I was surprised. I thought that people would be getting more there.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I find the US is significantly higher.
Yeah,
compared to here.
definitely. Yeah, yeah. But I will say, like, you know, It's funny, and it's something we've been talking about with the Guild a lot, is this awards situation. So the UK MPG Awards, and definitely the Grammy Awards, are so prestigious, and it really puts people on the map of like, this is an important producer or an engineer because they have this award. And I feel like we don't have anything like that here. People get jobs based on who their mates are in the music industry. So if we can start lifting people up and saying they're doing really great work, I think it'll start to like make us strive higher. It will make the wider industry take note of what people are doing. I just think it'll be a really good thing for us. So that is something that we're working on. That's an exclusive there for you.
Hi.
Hello.
I was just wondering about the award rate, as in pay award.
Yep.
Is there an award rate for engineers, and
No.
and is there any repercussions if they don't pay the award?
Well, it's minimum wage, so it's just determined by like the Australian Workers Commission or whatever it is at the moment.
So
There
it's
is
just
no
a general minimum.
Yeah, it's just minimum wage, and you know what? People don't even get that all the time.
Well, there's one for musos as well, and no one sticks to that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we really like that. To me, is like minimum standards
Just
that we
bizarre that we
need to be aiming for, like getting a working
Yeah.
rate. But that is also something that we would love to do as a board, is say this is our recommended fee for a day rate for someone to work on
For
something.
such and such a task,
Yeah.
and then, yeah.
Almost, almost like a guild. Almost like a union situation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool. that was-
yeah, but no, there isn't currently.
Which is weird.
Yeah, and it's been like that as long as I remember.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hello.
Hi. I'm not involved in the music industry, but I'm really interested because I come from a visual arts sector,
Oh yeah.
and so
Welcome.
much of what you say
Yeah.
is exactly what we experience in the visual arts sector. And I suppose there's a couple of things that one point that I wanted to make and one question that I have for you. One point that I wanted to make is that in the visual arts sector in Australia, we have NAVA, National Association for Visual Artists, and I'm just thinking for your association, they started off with a code of conduct.
Yeah, we have a
which-
code of
yeah,
conduct.
and that incorporates payment rates and what it almost becomes a sort of obligation, sort of a guilt type thing, that this is what you should pay people, and then now investigating the idea of the award, which is what made me
Yeah,
think
that's a
about
great
that.
idea. That is how we could. I'm looking at Tom. This is how we could.
I'd be happy to share that information.
Yeah,
with you
that'd be
and
amazing.
sort of,
Thank you.
yeah, rather than recreating the wheel, it's something that's been very successful, and it's sort of in our sector, the museums and things like that, and now feel obligated to say we pay NAVA rates or we pay above NAVA rates.
That's really cool. So when writing the code of conduct I found that probably to be the hardest thing that I did in setting up this organization, because I really didn't want to say to people, you need to behave a certain way to be a member of the guild. I found that really difficult. But I have 325 people have signed up to the guild, so they obviously don't have a problem with not being, a bully or making inappropriate jokes in the studio and that kind of thing, which is part of the code of conduct. But it would be really an interesting way to include like a guide for
Absolutely.
for rates.
Yeah, it's not obligatory, but it's out there and it's publicly available.
Yeah.
And then just more and more people get on board.
Yeah.
And my question to you is about education and education pathways and the diversity. Do you think education pathways are a
Yes.
problem
Um,
in terms of diversity, that maybe at university level or for example, that they aren't encouraging women or people with more diverse backgrounds? Do you think that is an opportunity to encourage more diversity?
Yes, I think it's industry wide though. I think we all have to do better, but so I think it's earlier than that. Honestly, I think it's earlier than that. I go and do guest lectures at universities and colleges, and I look around, and still 20 years after I was at university, there is 3 women in the class. So I think it's earlier than that. I think it's like raising women to play instruments and be involved in music and, all those kinds of things. Yeah. Hello.
Hello. I'm just wondering, do you think that there's enough grants and programs available for music producers and engineers?
Great question. So, a lot of what I've been doing, and I've been sort of like, I don't know what the right word is, provoking grant organizations, distribution organizations to give me grants and challenging them on the fact that some people think that we are not artists, so we're not eligible for art grants. And so I really I did a lot of research into what the eligibility criteria was, and we are absolutely eligible for arts grants. It's just that we don't often apply. So when I applied for a grant to go to Mix with the Masters in France to learn from a producer, an international producer, I got it. I got like $9,000 to go there and to learn from Andy Wallace, and it was amazing. And I remember when I wrote about it, there was a lot of comments on my thing saying I didn't even know that we were eligible for grants like this. And we absolutely are. And the people at the Australia Council for the Arts, Creative Australia, are very up for it. But it's just that in your application, you have to stress that you are an artist and you're doing artistic work. Maybe wind back the engineering label because that's a more technical role. But the more technical role, like I got the Australia Council for the Arts Music Fellowship, which is like, that's for artists, like I said, I've been provoking them. I've been challenging them to not give me things. And like it means they have to come out and say, actually, we don't think producers are artists. But they won't do that because we are artists and they can't prove that we're not. So you're eligible. You just have to apply. And same with I applied for the Prelude Composers Residency. And so I don't write songs to get up and perform at the Tote, but I write songs with artists every day, or I contribute to songwriting, which means I'm a composer, which means I can apply for a composer's residency, right? So you've just got to challenge these institutions that have been giving these things to like classical violinists for a long time, because we are eligible. We just have to prove that we're artists. Yeah. Sorry, that was a bit of a soapbox.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Anna. My name's Ohad. We've been emailing.
Oh, hello.
Hi. A question that pops up in terms of legal aid for producers, because I know a lot of us probably have the same needs when it comes to legal contracts.
Yep.
And if there's some kind of, I don't know, in-house perhaps lawyer that can help us formulate like a template.
Yes. So Moira McKenzie is our lawyer in residence, and she has offered Guild members a free consultation. I think it's an hour-long consultation, and also a discounted rate on her services. But what we will be doing is when we start charging for membership, we need to start having something to give members to make it worth their while. And one of those things will hopefully be, if everything comes off, like a producer contract, a basic producer contract that people can use every time they do a gig. Yeah. Moira also helped us to set up the Guild. She helped us with the constitution and all the rest of it. Yeah.
Hi, Anna.
Hey, Joe.
My name's Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Hey. I just wanted to rewind from a couple of questions ago in regards to the awards stuff, because I've just been going through this.
The rates,
yeah, the rates stuff. I have a little bit of an insight, but I still don't have all the answers, and it's kind of a sucky area to get into.
Okay.
It's a time suck too.
Yeah.
To look into it. So I have a couple of people at the studio, and we were having a bit of a chat about this, and I wanted to make sure I was doing the right thing by them.
Yeah.
So I looked into it a bit, and there's not a lot of answers out there. There is a broadcast awards rate out there, and there's like 150 rates there. It's not very music specific. It is very much more about broadcast radio.
Maybe this is something we need to do.
Yeah, it could definitely be expanded upon, because I actually engaged an employment company to look into this for me, because not even my accountant wanted to touch it. Most accountants are like, oh, this is out of my scope. They don't want to kind of get into trouble by advising the wrong award. So you have to actually go to a proper employee company that will give you all this stuff.
Okay.
So they looked at the broadcasting and said, well, you're a mastering studio. We don't really see much. I mean, these guys aren't mastering for me. We've got a guy and a girl that work for me. They're doing a lot of editing and things like that. And they were like, nothing really fitted what I needed.
Yeah.
But it could be expanded upon. But ultimately, they did a lot of research, and they did find an approximate award.
Okay.
It's around the $30 an hour.
Okay.
That's what they found, and this was in the retail sector, where they looked at the definitions about what the person was doing, what they were outputting and delivering to you, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's as far as we got, and they said we would say around that, but
that would be for like a junior editing person, entry level.
Entry level stuff.
Right, so not someone who's been doing it for 20 years.
No. So that was just entry level stuff.
So interesting. Yeah, maybe, I mean, yeah. Something to add to the list, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey there. Go on then. Oh no, here we go. Neil's here.
Just to add to that though, I think it is really important ongoing, because when there was lockdowns and all that sort of stuff, it was really hard to prove on paper what you do and what you're worth.
Oh mate, yes, I know.
So it's something that I think as an industry,
yeah,
same as the engineers, same as the musos and the artists and everyone, the more we can put on paper, the more thing that looks more, I don't know, governmental.
Yeah.
That they speaking the language that they understand.
Yeah.
It proves that we're an industry and that we need some.
100%. You know, this is just like as an aside for like, I just think this is so interesting. I had a child, and you know how you have to write your occupation? So I wrote music producer, and when I got my son's birth certificate back, it said musician. They changed what I do because it didn't fit any boxes. And I'm very far from being a musician. So I just thought that was so interesting that we're not on any forms as like, this is a legitimate job or occupation. We don't exist. Yeah. Very funny. Yeah.
Like any industry you go to, whether you're a butcher, a hairdresser, anyone, you can walk in,
yeah.
the government has an internship policy for you.
Yeah.
I get lots of people asking me about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I spoke to Music Victoria and a lot of other government bodies, and it was basically, there is nothing in the industry for internships.
Do you remember during lockdown and bloody the Prime Minister was up on telly talking about barre instructors and how they were like included in a job that was like a legitimate job, and I was like, how is music producer less valid than that? You know, I just thought it was for me personally, it made me feel like shit, basically. Yeah, it just kept happening. It kept happening. And that's actually when I was like, right, we need a guild. This needs to happen. And that was pretty much the start of the guild. Yeah.
This is a nonsensical question.
Go nuts.
Why did you land on guild and not association or?
Guild just sounds like, you know, Lord of the Rings-esque. Yeah. No, honestly, I just sort of thought that's what they do in the UK, and it sounds good, and we should probably align in some way with existing organisations. And also, I didn't want people to think that, you know, I was like a government worker. Like, we're just a group of people. We are a guild of engineers and producers, and I really wanted to put engineers in the name, so a lot of the other guilds around the world are just producers, music producers, but engineers to me are so important to what we do, and and I think we need to stick together because we're often just the same person. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Any more questions, or should we sign up to win a TLM 103? Cool.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Thank you very much. Big round of applause for Anna. That was, we do these events. We do these events quite a lot, and that was a very, very good Q&A. That was the best Q&A we've ever had.
Yes.
It was civil. It was civil. Sometimes that's enough. So yeah, you got 20 odd minutes to sign up if you're a member. You've got 40 odd minutes to have a drink and a sandwich and get to know each other if you didn't before. Thanks everyone for coming, and yeah.
Oh, and thank you to the VMDO very much for having us, for hosting us here, and to Music Market as well for the venue.
Them too.
Thanks a lot.
Right. Thanks everybody.